guys, we got it's your boy Toronto back in another video, and today we got 3 very scary true someone's outside horror stories. And listen, man, I love me some horror, man. That's probably my favorite genre: horror, action. You know, the, how would you say it, the cliche ones for guys, I guess. But those are my favorite genres. I can't really choose between which one's better because Saw's my favorite franchise ever. So do with that if you will. But yeah, man, interesting again. Here's some horror stories, man. If you want to see more, like, comment, subscribe down below, and make sure you comment down what you want to see me react to, so I can get to those recommendations. And without further ado, let's just get into the video. Story 1.
When I was 12 years old, my mom had just started trusting me enough to leave me home alone. So
I won't be pausing a lot, but why is it every horror story you have to be, every kid is 12 in the horror stories? Why is it always a 12-year-old?
had to be when I was 12. We live in a peaceful and ordinarily safe little town. Quiet streets, spacious yards, friendly neighbors, and a charming little village with a bunch of shops and restaurants. It really is not a place where you need to look over your shoulder at night if you're walking alone or anything like that. It just feels safe, which is part of the reason my parents trusted me home alone at such a young age. I still live with my parents today in the same house. The night in question, it was a weekend. My parents were leaving me home alone for the night. When we were really little, my grandparents would watch my older sister and I, but since my sister wasn't home for whatever reason, and since I was kind of old enough to be left alone at that age, my parents decided to just trust me by myself. My parents had us young, so they've always been a bit more active in the sense that they'd often travel or go out on the weekends with their friends. They left me some
Even
money
if
for
they're
pizza for
young, if you have kids, what do you mean? Okay, you know what? I don't have kids, so I won't understand. But that'll make no sense even if you are young.
dinner. It was the ideal night for a 12 or 13-year-old. House to myself, video games all night, and pizza for dinner. I used
That
to be
sounds
obsessed
tough,
with
except
James
for the
Bond
pizza.
video games when I was a kid. So I was playing some game called Nightfire for like my 3rd playthrough on my PS2. After I
Haven't heard of
finished
that
the
game.
game again, I decided to order the pizza. There was a pizza place right by our house called Gianni's. It's been closed for years now, but it was one of my family's go-to pizzerias. I ordered a regular pie. At the age of 12, I could easily eat 3 slices by myself. My mom told me to wrap the leftover slices in tinfoil and put them in the fridge.
I feel you, man. You feel
I
like you could
switched
eat
out
all of
discs
that.
for another video
I
game
can't
in the
even eat a whole
meantime
pizza
while I
now,
waited
man.
for the pizza. And when the doorbell finally rang, I hurried downstairs with the $20 bill my parents left me. My mom told me to tip $4. The pizza place was like 3 blocks away, so honestly, it wasn't a bad tip, especially for the time. The delivery driver was some 30-something-year-old looking guy, though he looked a little rough. Like he had a really long and gross beard. He also wore glasses and was wearing a black trucker's hat. I gave him the 20 and asked for the specific
No, he's a
change.
criminal, bro.
As he handed me the box and counted the change, he looked up at me and then looked past me into the house and said, "You alone here?" I knew it was an odd, creepy question, and my parents taught me well about being wary of strangers.
Okay, what did you say?
I said my parents are on their way home. A stupid answer in retrospect.
Yes,
I
very
could have just
stupid.
said no. But I knew he was
Just say
asking
that
because
upstairs.
first of all there were no cars in the driveway, and the fact that a kid was accepting the pizza at the door instead of an adult. After he handed me the change, I closed the door. I ate in the kitchen, probably had 3 slices and then wrapped up the rest of them and put them in the fridge. I went back upstairs and played my other James Bond PS2 game, Agent Under Fire. I liked this one less than Nightfire, but it was still good. Hours go by of me playing.
I
It was
do miss
probably
PS2
11
games, so I'm
o'clock
not gonna
when
lie.
the doorbell rang. Naturally, thinking it was my parents, I rushed downstairs to the door. I said through the door, "Mom? Dad?" But an unfamiliar voice on the other side said, "Hey, I need help." They said they need to use a
Nah, you can
phone.
stay outside, bro.
I said, "Who is this?" And he repeated that he just needs to use a phone. I didn't want to peek through the window because, quite honestly, I was scared. I decided to go upstairs and ignore it.
You
I
should have
knew
looked
from
through the
common
window
sense alone that
upstairs,
opening
bro.
that door would be a horrible, horrible idea. I was walking up the stairs, which are directly in front of the front door, when the man outside banged on the door, and I heard him say, "Wait, please, I need help." What that meant was that he saw me. He was watching through the glass at the top of the
Yep.
door. I turned around, and though it was dark on the front porch, I could still see the outline of the man's head.
Sorry for stopping. I know I said I wasn't gonna do this, but I can't even imagine going through this as a kid. Like, bro, I can't even imagine how the level of scariness, if that's a word. I can't imagine the level of scariness I'd have to go through to be in this situation. Like, that sounds insane, bro. Like, I can't even fathom
Though I
something like
couldn't
that.
see his eyes, it was
Fathom,
obvious that he was
fathom.
staring back at me. I ran upstairs and ran to my parents' room. The only house phone that was upstairs was in my parents' room, so I went to the phone immediately and called my mom's cell phone number. I didn't memorize my dad's number at that age. My mom picked up the phone, likely under the influence of a few glasses of wine, and then I told her that there's someone at the door asking to
She's
come
gone
in.
out drinking while she
This
has a kid
comment
at home
likely
by
sobered
himself.
her
Like,
up
what?
instantly,
How
as I remember her
irresponsible.
tone shifted dramatically, and she sounded much louder and more concerned. She asked me a few questions. Firstly, if I had answered the man or at all made him aware that I was home, and I told the truth and said yes. I asked
Dumbass.
who it was. My mom's tone grew more and more concerned. She asked me if for any reason someone knew I was there by myself, and I immediately thought of the pizza guy. I told her that the pizza guy asked if I were here alone, and around this time, the doorbell rang 2 more times. I told my mom in a panic, expressing that the guy would not leave. My mom told me to stay put in their room and keep the bedroom door locked. She said they were calling the police. My mom kept me on the line with her on her phone
Nigga,
while they called
you
the
should have
police
called
using
the
my dad's
police.
phone. They had to leave the restaurant they were in to go outside to better be able to communicate. It was a summer night. The
What do you
windows were
mean?
all cracked open to let some air into the house.
Get out the
Through my
restaurant
parents'
and go in the
window,
car
I
and
heard the
drive
gate
home.
on one side of the house leading to the backyard opening. It opened in a very discreet, gentle-sounding way.
Oh,
I
hell
told this to
no.
my mom, and she kept telling me to just stay quiet, stay in their room, and keep the lights off. I said quietly into the phone, "What if he tries getting in through the den window?" My mom would tell me to just stop talking and wait for the police. She would continue talking into the phone, feeding me updates from the police and their ETA, reminding me also to not talk. I was starting to calm down
At this
just a
point, you
bit
gotta
when
shoot
I
him.
heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps downstairs. Footsteps of someone inside the house, wandering around. I whispered this in a panic to my mom, and I heard her scream something into the other phone to the police. Probably something along the lines of, "The man is inside the house, hurry up." My mom told me to hide under the bed and wait there. For my 12-year-old self, it was the most horrific, unreal moment of my life.
I can't even
The
imagine.
only thing keeping me feeling relatively protected was the tiny little lock on my parents' bedroom door.
What?
I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. The stairs are by my sister and I's bedroom down the hall. My parents' bedroom is further down. The footsteps faded for a few moments, I'm assuming as the intruder went into our bedrooms, searching. My mom told me the police would force their way in and to not move until they were inside. I heard the footsteps in the hallway coming down this way until they got to the bedroom door, and then they tried pressing down the doorknob only to find it locked. They tried a few times, as if that would somehow magically unlock the door. Then there was a light knocking on the door, but the person on the other side didn't speak a word. They tried the doorknob one more time before I
Nah.
heard the footsteps walk back down the hallway, then down the stairs, and they faded away deeper into the house. I did my best not to burst out into tears the entire time. I didn't even whisper anything into the phone because I was too scared to make the slightest sound.
You need a gun, bro.
My mom finally told me the police were there, but to still stay put. I was expecting to hear them kick down the door, but instead, I just rather suddenly heard multiple heavy footsteps and a man shouting my name, identifying himself as a police officer. I heard them coming up the stairs, and my mom gave me permission to answer them and unlock the door. There were 2 officers upstairs when I opened the door, and then 2 more downstairs.
Try this for
They
them.
didn't have to kick down the front door because the back door was left completely ajar. The back sliding window was also slid completely open, which was the obvious original entry point. I had to talk with the police and tell them everything that happened, including my suspicion of the pizza guy.
So where
with
was he?
my parents listening in on the phone. They were en route home, and by the time they got back, there were only 2 police officers still at the house. With the police report including a note of the pizza guy, they said they'd do their investigation. My parents brought me to Gianni's Pizzeria the next night and asked me to point the guy out if I saw him. When I didn't see him, they asked the manager which employee matched the description of the delivery guy I described. He said that would be Phil, who was currently out doing a delivery. After explaining the whole scenario, he said there's no way that would be Phil and asked us to leave the premises. Long story short, my parents made a big scene in the pizzeria, and they said they would never give them our business again.
Ooh.
We went to the car and waited in the parking
What?
lot. We waited for almost an hour, and when he never showed up, we left. My parents thought it was because the manager called or texted the employee, which caused him not to show back up, but who knows? My parents contacted a few lawyers who ultimately didn't take the case due to a lack of solid evidence, stating it would be a waste of time, basically. Ultimately, we never did go back to that pizzeria, and it wasn't for a long while after that that my parents felt safe leaving me home alone again, simply because of this incident.
They should never be leaving a 12-year-old at home.
Ultimately, I do
Anyway.
think it was the pizza guy, or at least someone associated with him.
Like
Because who else would have known that I was home alone that night?
It was obviously the pizza guy. That was a solid story. Very scary.
When I was a teenager, my parents and I moved from California to a secluded area in North Idaho. My parents had just retired and built their dream home deep in the backcountry. We had no neighbors in sight, just forest.
How can that be your
Dense
dream home
forest
having
that
no
backed
one
right up to
in
national
your
parkland
vicinity?
and paper mill logging grounds? The house was massive. 2 stories, a gym, a full bar and pool room, and a legit movie theater set up in the basement. It felt like the kind of house people dream of. Remote, quiet, perfect. Or so it seemed. I was dating my high school girlfriend at the time. One night, while my parents were out on a date downtown, I invited her over to hang out and watch a movie. We were completely alone. I cracked open a beer. I was underage, but figured no one would care, and we headed down to the movie room
Type
to watch
shit.
Gladiator. Everything started out normal, but somewhere around the midpoint
Gladiator
of the
with a
movie,
girl.
maybe close to midnight,
Fairs,
something
man.
switched in me. Out of nowhere, I was overwhelmed with this fight or flight feeling. It was like my body sensed something my brain couldn't see. My heart was pounding, and I kept glancing at the uncovered windows behind us that looked out into the pitch black woods.
Why
I didn't want to freak out my
uncovered?
girlfriend, so I kept it to myself. In fact, things got a little heated between us during the movie. But the whole time, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. I didn't know from where, but I knew. After the movie ended, I walked her upstairs and out to her car. The house was dead quiet again. She drove off, and I turned to go back inside, when I remembered I'd left the bar, pool room, and movie room lights on. So I went back downstairs. I turned off the lights in the movie room first, then paused. My eyes drifted to the large window that looked into the backyard, and that's when I saw him. A man. He looked homeless.
Lord have
Wild
mercy.
hair, filthy clothes.
That scared me.
But what
Oh
froze
my
me in
God.
place was his expression. He had the biggest, creepiest smile I've ever seen, with wide, staring eyes that looked absolutely deranged.
Be real. Would you shoot him on sight? Like, even if he's not even in the house? The fact that he's staring at me and smiling, I'm shooting him straight off. I'll go jail. That's
And in
cool.
his hand was a knife.
Oh, no, never
He was
mind. Shoot him
gently
anyway.
tapping it on the glass, over and over. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. I slowly backed away and went to the bar room to shut off the rest of the lights. That room has a sliding glass door that also faces the woods. I flipped the switch and watched in horror as the man calmly walked from the window to the door, still smiling, still staring. At this point, we were less than a foot apart, just
Leave
the
me
glass
alone,
between
bro.
us. He didn't try to get in. He didn't move at all. He just watched me. I went upstairs without a word. Right then, my parents were walking through the door. I told them I think I need to go to the psych ward or something. I
Oh, we're
swear
good.
I just saw a guy with a knife watching me outside. My mom went pale. My dad's eyes narrowed, and without a word, he went to the gun safe, grabbed his rifle,
Good
and
man.
stormed out to check the property. I asked my mom what was going on, and she said there have been a few break-ins in the area. A guy wandering through the woods trying to get into homes. The description
Didn't
he
want to
gave
tell me
matches
this?
exactly. The police were
The hell,
called,
Mom?
but they didn't find anything. No signs of entry, no footprints, just cold black woods. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. That night, as I tried to sleep, I could hear a light tapping sound beneath me. My bedroom was on the second floor, directly above the movie room. It sounded like metal gently tapping glass. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. The tapping lasted for hours. This happened night after night for weeks. Sometimes it would stop. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and hear it faintly again. I even thought I heard footsteps on the roof one night. I checked the windows, but I never saw anyone. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being stalked, watched. Then winter came. My parents had to go
What?
out of town for a few days, but they were still nervous about what had happened. Before they left,
Why didn't
they
you go
gave me
with
a
them?
shotgun just in case.
Okay.
We also had a big Rottweiler, sweetest dog you'd ever meet and totally silent, unless something was really there.
Alright.
One night while I was home alone, I heard slow, crunching footsteps in the snow outside. Heavy
How did
and
you hear that?
deliberate.
If you're
The dog
inside.
stood up, ears perked, and began growling low and deep at the front door. Then barking, ferocious, loud, and non-stop. He only ever did that when he saw something real. I stayed silent. I didn't want whoever was out there to know I was home. I didn't move. Then
Good
came
man.
the knock.
Good move.
Slow, hollow, and taunting. I didn't answer. I slept with the shotgun next to me that night. Door locked, blinds drawn,
I wouldn't be able to
dog at
sleep,
my
I'm not
feet.
gonna lie.
The next morning, I went outside and saw something that made my stomach drop. Footprints. Fresh human footprints
Oh my
circled the
God.
entire house. They stopped at every single window, like someone was trying to look in, searching for me. I followed the prints around the property.
You gotta
They
move.
eventually led into the forest. I followed them maybe half a mile before they started to zigzag, veer off, loop back, like whoever made them was trying to throw me off their trail.
Backtracking and stuff like
I
that.
turned back. Something told me it was a bad idea to keep going. That night, the tapping came back.
Oh
Louder
my
this time.
God.
I knew it was him. I unlocked my door, grabbed my shotgun, and stepped onto the second-story deck.
Tough.
I flipped on the fog lights that illuminated the backyard. There he
Just
was.
shoot him, bro.
Same man, same smile, and same dead eyes. He was holding the knife again, staring directly at me like he could see through me. I raised the shotgun and shouted, "If you don't leave, I'll put one right through you." He didn't move or flinch, just stared unblinking, grinning. I fired a warning shot into the air, and that finally got a reaction. He staggered a bit, then slowly backed into the woods, still facing me. That's when I decided to unleash the dog. I sprinted downstairs, threw open the sliding door, and let him loose. He bolted into the forest like a black missile, barking and snarling. I'd never seen him that aggressive. He had a shock collar, so he couldn't go far, but I like to think he chased that guy off for good, because after that night, I never saw him again.
That was scarier than the first one. I like that. They're getting scarier.
This happened in March of 2022, during spring break. I was in my second year of college. My friends and I, 6 of us total, decided to rent a cabin out in South Carolina for a few days, just to get away from everything. No school, no stress, no phones. It was supposed to be one of those quiet trips where you drink too much, play music too loud, and maybe make some memories you'll laugh about later. There were 4 of us guys, me, Matt, Chris, and Tyler, and 2 girls, Jess and Sarah. We'd all been close since freshman year. The cabin we picked was stupid cheap for its size. 2 stories, a wraparound porch, 2 bathrooms,
This sounds like a
listed
set
as
of
being on
Mike
private
Myers,
land near a lake.
Jason
It was
Voorhees
way
movie.
out there, no towns for miles, surrounded by forest. The guy who owned it had a thick accent and seemed kind of off when we talked to him on the phone. All he said was, "Just don't go wandering too deep into the woods. Some old stuff back there. Wells, busted fences, snakes. You don't want to get turned around. We laughed about it, thought he was just trying to add some spooky southern charm to the trip. But when we got there, it wasn't funny. The drive took forever. GPS gave out an hour before we arrived. The last part of the road was just dirt and gravel, barely wide enough for one car. Trees got thicker the closer we got. When we finally saw the cabin, we all kind of went quiet. It didn't look like the pictures.
I can
It was
never go on
older
these
and
cabin trips
dirtier.
and stuff after
The
watching
windows were
like Friday the 13th and the Mike Myers movies, Halloween. I could never go to no cabin trip after all those
dusty,
movies,
and a
bro.
few of the shutters were hanging
And it's
off
the
by the
fact that if you get
hinges.
someone
There was this
finds you
faint
there,
smell
you're in the middle of
outside,
nowhere, bro.
like old garbage and wet
Can
wood.
never be me.
We brushed it off and
I ain't
made
that stupid.
jokes, said it just added character. We unloaded, claimed rooms, and started drinking by 7 p.m. The first night was fun. We grilled outside, cranked music from a Bluetooth speaker, and played some card games. By 11, it got cold, so we moved inside. That's when I noticed how dark the woods were. I don't mean just nighttime dark. I mean complete blackness. The porch lights barely
That's
lit up
because the
more than a
position
few
of the
feet,
moon,
and the trees were...
innit? Like it changes all the time. So the fact that it's even darker than normal than you would normally think it is because the moon,
so
the
dense, it felt like they were
I don't know how
pressing
you
in from all
say it.
sides. No bugs,
Like
no
the angle of the
wind,
moon
just
was not
total,
shining on the
heavy
woods
silence.
in recent times,
We ended up
or it's
crashing
just
around
gone
2
past.
a.m.
So that means it's dark.
I
It
had
gets
one of
even
the rooms on
darker.
the ground floor, right next to the kitchen. Small and just a bed and a window facing the woods. At around 4:15, I woke up. No reason, just wide awake like someone had poked me. I laid there for a second, heart beating fast. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap.
Just
I thought
shoot,
it was
bro.
the heater at first, but then it repeated. Steady,
What
non-metallic,
kind of heater taps
non-mechanical.
like that?
It sounded like fingers. I looked at the window, and there was a man standing there. He was pressed up against the glass, face almost touching it. Pale
Oh, hell
skin,
no.
wild hair, no shirt, just staring in. His
Shoot!
mouth hung slightly open like he was breathing through it. His eyes were wide. He didn't blink. He didn't move. He just stood there and tapped, soft and slow.
There's
He was
niggas in real
trying to
life that just
tease
like
me.
that as well.
I felt like my body locked up. Then the tapping got a little faster. I
Mm-mm.
whispered for Matt, who was sleeping on the couch outside my room. I said his name again, louder. He woke up groggy and asked what I wanted. I just pointed. He looked over, saw the man, and immediately jumped up, knocking over the coffee table. That must have
Nah.
scared the guy off, because by the time Matt turned the porch light on and ran outside, he was gone.
Yo, Matt's a
We all
gangster.
got up. The girls were terrified. Tyler tried to convince everyone it was just some drunk local messing with us.
I don't know why
Chris
you
said
wake up the
maybe it was
girls.
a
First
hunter
get me
who got
screaming and shit.
lost. But I knew it was that guy watching me. He wasn't lost. We blocked the doors, moved the couch in front of the big living room window, and took turns staying awake for a few hours. Nothing else happened that night. The next morning, we went outside. There were footprints, bare human footprints circling the entire cabin.
Nah.
They stopped at every window, every single one, even the little one above the upstairs shower. That should have been it. We should have left.
Fuck
But we didn't.
cabin holidays, bro.
We were dumb and stubborn, and we stayed. Night 2 started the same. Drinks, music, fire pit, but the energy was different.
How do you stay at that place?
Everyone kept glancing at the woods. Jess didn't drink, and Chris kept his hunting knife on his belt. When we finally went inside, we locked every window and
Hunting
double-checked
knife.
the
This
doors.
guy think he's Secret Service or something.
Around 3:30 a.m., Matt went to the kitchen for water. He stopped in the hallway and called my name. I got up and saw him standing there, pointing. There was someone in the kitchen, the man from before.
Oh, hell no.
This time, he was inside, naked.
How?
His back was to us.
Bro,
covered
we
in
don't care if
long,
he's naked.
raw-looking
Shoot him.
Scratches. He was standing in front of the fridge, staring at it like he didn't know what it was. He made this slow, swaying motion, like he was rocking on his feet. Matt didn't speak. He just backed up. We all gathered silently at the hallway entrance. I had a pocket knife. Sarah had the fire poker. Chris grabbed one of the chair legs he'd snapped
No one
at me,
had a
trying to
gun.
be funny. We turned on the light, and the man was gone. The back door was wide open, but
What?
it wasn't broken. It wasn't forced. It was just open.
Is man even real?
We left 20 minutes later. No one argued. We packed only the basics, wallets, keys, phones, and drove through the
Oh,
woods
so you need
until
to
we
be
had
scared
enough
twice
signal to
before
call the
leaving, huh?
sheriff. When
These
we
are
met the
definitely white
deputy
kids.
at a diner off the highway, he didn't look surprised at all. He asked if anyone was hurt, then said, "Yeah, we've had some trouble with folks squatting up in those woods. Not always right in the head."
These niggas
We
always
tried to
telling us
explain it
after
wasn't
it
just some
happens.
homeless guy. This man watched us, came back 2 nights in a row, and had a key or somehow got inside. The deputy just nodded like he'd heard it before. When we mentioned the owner, his face almost implied that he knew the guy. The listing disappeared a few days later, completely wiped from every rental site. We never got answers, never got a call. We never even got our deposit back. But that face, the way he looked at me through the window, I still see it sometimes when I wake up at night. We
Shit,
don't
I
talk
would
about
too.
that trip much anymore. But as far as I know, none of us have been back to South Carolina since.
Fuck that. Those are really good stories, I'm not gonna lie. Each one got progressively more scarier as well. So that was a very good compilation. 3 good stories. And they're actually true stories as well, so there you go, even worse. But hey, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see some more of these, comment down below in my video and tell me which ones you want me to watch. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.